like, Meth, come on, get in the car. I'm like, what the f? I'm not making a connection here. And I'm like, oh, that's Puff car. There ain't no way I'm getting in that fucking car. I look at Pac, and Pac got a whole different face. His face looked like that picture before he died. That face he had.
Oh,
that look. He had that look on his face. You know what I mean?
So do you think Puffy was involved in the shooting?
I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I can say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows. So every time he say it didn't happen, or that's the only thing that makes this become an issue to everybody. If you're gonna act like you a gangster or a G or the king of New York, I'm gonna expect that. And when you don't come through, then I'm gonna crush your empire. And that's what it's time.
Method Man is finally speaking out about a conversation he had with Tupac shortly before Pac was killed. And it sounds like Pac was trying to warn him. According to Meth, Tupac believed that Diddy wasn't who he pretended to be, and that the music industry was being manipulated behind the scenes in ways most artists didn't even realize at the time. Now, before anyone tries to write this off as some made-up story, the truth is, Tupac and Method Man actually had a real connection. They collaborated on Got My Mind Made Up, which came out in 1996, just months before Pac was killed. Despite his beef with Bad Boy, Pac went out of his way to work with East Coast rappers he respected. Out of all the East Coast names, Pac always made it clear that Meth was one of the few he trusted. And here's where it gets interesting. In one of their last conversations, Pac apparently told Meth to watch out for certain people. Diddy's name came up. Meth didn't reveal every detail, but he did say that Diddy once tried to get him to leave a party together. Meth said something fell off, so he turned the ride down. Looking back, he admitted that both he and Pac were paranoid at that time. And honestly, with everything going on, they had every reason to be.
Puffy, P. Diddy, and you around a bunch of other motherfuckers.
Showtime.
To give you some context, Method Man was one of the few East Coast rappers who managed to stay neutral during the whole East Coast versus West Coast mess. While most artists were either picking sides or getting dragged into the drama, Meth kept his respect on both coasts. He worked with Biggie and Diddy early on, but also had real love for Pac, and he didn't let the media pit him against anyone. Meth wasn't about that fake industry loyalty. He just wanted to rap, stay true to his people, and avoid the politics. That's probably why Pac trusted him enough to speak freely. He knew Meth wasn't playing both sides. He was just trying to survive the chaos. Now, Method Man has always been the type to stay out of gossip. Even with all the craziness surrounding Diddy lately, he's mostly stayed quiet and kept it moving. That's how he's always handled the industry. Stay solid. Don't speak on what doesn't need speaking on. But now, an old interview with Meth is making the rounds again, and it's got people looking at things differently. In that interview, Meth talked about the night he met both Diddy and Tupac. Literally on the same night. It happened at a party in LA, and Meth said Pac walked straight up to him and showed nothing but respect. What stood out was that Pac brought up the Wu-Tang chain situation, when RZA got his chain snatched at Club 662.
Way out, lights come on at the end of the party over, lights come on, I'm blowed now, I'm like, feel a tap on my shoulder, turn around, it's Pac. Last but I ain't seen all night. I ain't know he was even in there. I turn around, Pac there, he's like, yo, wanna holler at, anybody? Next thing I know, cameras everywhere. So while he's saying this, I remember something, an altercation happened with RZA in Vegas, something happened with the chain, and Pac was trying to tell me, if I was there, that would never happen, blah, 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 blah. And I remember looking up, and Suge was like this, with a cigar in his mouth, looking down at me like this. So I'm like, damn, I just want to play with this. He's looking at me crazy right now, So then I look at Pac, and Pac got a whole different face. His face looked like that picture before he died, that face he had, that look. He had that look on his face, you know what I mean? And I remember looking back down, and I couldn't understand anything he was saying after that, because mad was going through my head, and I'm looking at the death row piece on his chain. Then he was like, yeah, we gonna all meet up, and I was like, yeah, you know how men do it, we handle our business. Walked out. Soon as I walked out the club, Tracy Waples. Love Trey Wap.
Executive label executive,
yeah.
Worked behind the scenes for a long time.
She outside in a Benz like Meth.
In another interview, Meth said he personally found out who stole the chain and gave Wu-Tang the message that if they want to confront the guys who did it, they could. But here's where it gets weird. Meth said that as soon as he finished talking to Pac, Diddy sent someone over to try and get him to hop in his car and leave with him. Luckily, Meth said he didn't like the vibe, so he turned it down.
Soon as I walked out the club, Tracy Waples. Love Trey Wap.
Executive label executive.
Yeah.
Worked behind the scenes for a long time.
She outside in a Benz like, Meth, come on, get in the car. I'm like, what the? I'm not making a connection here. And I'm like, oh, that's Puff car. That's Puffy car. Ain't no way I'm getting it. No.
Now, with everything coming out about these private Diddy parties, that small moment suddenly feels way more loaded. Meth didn't say anything wild in that interview. He just told the story straight. But fans are now reading between the lines, especially knowing what we know about Diddy's behind-the-scenes behavior and how he was allegedly recruiting rappers to party with him. And if you really pay attention, Method Man's been dropping warnings for a while. He just never spelled out directly. One of his biggest clues was his verse on Suspect Chin Music, where he rapped, "They got me fed up from the head up, / put up or shut up. On stage in them shiny get-ups / ninjas is funny. Energizer bunny actors / they hustle backwards. Son, I think they gay rappers. It's not hard to connect the dots." Meth was clearly side-eyeing the flashy, fake gangster artists who were dominating the scene, and let's be real, that screams bad boy era. Now, at the time, it probably flew under the radar, because no one wanted to touch those topics out loud. But now, in light of everything surfacing about Diddy, it looks like Meth might have been one of the few who saw it early and chose to speak in code. But what about Tupac? What exactly did he warn Meth about? Well, according to people close to Pac, and what fans are piecing together now, it wasn't just about rap beef or surface-level drama. Pac had already started to see Diddy as more than just a rival. He saw him as part of a system using the music industry to control, silence, and exploit artists. Pac believed Diddy wasn't just playing the game, he was helping to rig it, whether it was through shady contracts, weird parties, or backdoor deals. Pac saw something fake in the image Diddy was pushing, and he didn't want Meth to fall for it. It gets even darker when you look back at Tupac's Explosive Vibe magazine interview from 1996. In that conversation, Pac didn't hold back. He boldly claimed that some of the most powerful figures in the music industry were involved in the most disturbing crimes, including allegations involving minors. Yet somehow, those very individuals were the ones being protected by the system. Meanwhile, Pac himself was being dragged to the mud and sent to prison for an accusation he always maintained was false. Although he didn't mention Diddy by name, the tone of the entire interview was clearly directed at Bad Boy Records and the powerful forces backing them. If you read between the lines, it doesn't take much to figure out exactly who he was calling out.
Because they disrespected me, my name, my family, what I had been through. They said that I couldn't be in pain. I could not feel, I could not be hurt. In my moment of pain, when I was shot 5 times in jail for a crime I didn't commit, while every other black person, whoever they was in the ass,
but that's not all. Another old interview recently resurfaced, this time with Suge Knight, where he hinted at something eerily similar. Suge said Tupac was genuinely concerned that certain industry men, who were secretly living double lives, might pose a threat to vulnerable individuals, especially young people.
Remember this lack of mercy when I come out. Remember this lack of compassion when I come out. And I will do anything to protect and feed my family. And
Looking back at everything now, it's clear Tupac was way ahead of his time. He wasn't just calling out fake friends or shady business deals. He was trying to expose something much bigger. Pac believed that what Diddy was doing had little to do with music or rivalry. He suspected Diddy was part of a darker, more dangerous machine, a well-protected circle of elites operating from within the industry, doing whatever they pleased behind closed doors with complete immunity. And Pac? He was one of the only artists bold enough to try and pull the curtain back. That's probably why he was targeted so intensely. It's honestly wild when you think about it. Tupac was the one being stalked and monitored by the FBI for years.
So they saw that COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program set up by J. Edgar Hoover, saw that the Panthers were doing a damn good job because all over the country they got this buzz. Similar to how Thug Life is.
Thug Life?
Thug Life.
Thug Life.
Yeah. So now, the Panthers got everybody talking about the Panthers and we want to be free and we want decent housing and talking good, not just bitch hole, you know, straight good. And they start infiltrating. Now, why would they do this to a young black organization? And why would you not think they would do it to me? They infiltrated, meaning they got people to say that they were Panthers, they joined the Panthers, and they would start the ruckus. Like, say, let's go shoot up the Botanical Gardens or some shit. You know what I'm saying? And do it in the name of the Panthers, but it's a cop. You know what I'm saying? And everybody think it's the Panthers because he's dressed like a Panther. You know what I'm saying? And he's screaming the Panthers, but he's a cop. He's been sent by the FBI. They got papers to document this shit.
The FBI built a massive file on Tupac, more than 4,000 pages worth of documentation. And to this day, they've only released around 100 pages, most of which are heavily redacted. Meanwhile, Diddy, now facing multiple lawsuits and deeply disturbing accusations from people who were close to him for years, was never watched that way. In fact, he was protected. The same law enforcement agencies that track Pac's every move seemed to turn a blind eye to what Diddy was allegedly doing behind the scenes. And now, decades later, everything Pac tried to warn people about is starting to come into focus. Which brings us back to Method Man. Fans are saying that maybe he had a narrow escape that night when Diddy asked him to leave the party together. Who knows what could have happened if he said yes? Maybe nothing. Or maybe he would have ended up caught in something he'd never be able to get out of. But what do you think? Was Tupac trying to warn not just Method Man, but the entire music industry? Was Diddy operating as part of something much bigger all along? And why was the system so eager to silence Tupac, but seemingly go out of his way to protect Diddy? Share your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video.